Look around at the diversity of life on Earth today. It feels permanent, but the fossil record shows that 99.9% of all species that have ever existed have already gone extinct. On this planet, the long-term trend isn't survival, it's burial. We have already come close to joining them, even without the help of machines. In 1961, a B-52 bomber broke apart over North Carolina, accidentally releasing 2 nuclear bombs. 3 out of the 4 safety pins on one of those bombs failed. Millions of people were saved by a single tiny intact pin. During the Cold War, our survival often rested on individual humans deciding to ignore their own instruments. In 1983, Stanislav Petrov watched his warning system report incoming American missiles. He correctly guessed the computer was malfunctioning and refused to launch a counterstrike. We made it through the 20th century because we got lucky, over and over again. We relied on the bravery of individuals rather than a system of control. Now we face a shift where human intervention might no longer be an option. When scientists tested the first atomic bombs, they were dealing with known physics. They could calculate the exact yield of the explosion and the boundaries of the blast radius. Even at its most destructive, the threat was calculable. Many of the researchers building modern AI are now speaking out because they can no longer provide those same calculations. Geoffrey Hinton, a Nobel laureate who helped invent the foundations of the field, warns that we are creating a new, unpredictable species whose limits we cannot mathematically define. This is the core of the alignment problem. We are attempting to build an intelligence that could eventually surpass us in every domain, yet we have no proven method for ensuring its goals remain identical to our own as it grows. Because we cannot predict where these systems will stop, we are currently drifting toward 12 very different versions of the future. We can map these futures onto a spectrum of agency, a look at who ultimately holds the power to decide what happens next. On the far left are the futures where humans keep the steering wheel. One scenario involves trying to keep a superintelligence trapped in a digital box. We attempt to use it as a tool while ensuring it can never influence the physical world. But this requires its human jailers to never be manipulated or outsmarted by a mind that may understand human psychology better than we do. We could also choose to abandon the technology entirely. But if one nation unplugs their servers, their rivals likely won't. Reverting to a simpler agrarian society would require the simultaneous violent destruction of the world's modern infrastructure to ensure no one can start the process again. Or we could implement a global surveillance system to stop anyone from building a powerful AI. This would require tracking every phone call, email, and computer chip on the planet to prevent a digital arms race before it starts. Each path toward human control carries a heavy price. We would have to accept either the collapse of modern civilization or the adoption of a global, total surveillance state. If we move to the middle of the spectrum, we find scenarios of shared agency. These are the utopias where automation creates such abundance that ownership becomes irrelevant. Humans and machines coexist, freed from the need to work for survival. In the protector god scenario, the AI remains in the background. It quietly prevents wars and pandemics without ever making its presence known, allowing us to maintain the feeling of total freedom. But these visions assume a superior intelligence will choose to respect our autonomy. There is no historical reason to believe that a vastly more capable species will value the rights of a lesser one. Consider our own relationship with insects. We have seen a 41% drop in their global populations. We didn't set out to destroy them. We were simply smarter. We needed their resources, and their survival was never our priority. Peaceful coexistence is a fragile state. Historically, when a massive intelligence gap opens up, the more advanced species simply takes what it needs, regardless of who was there first. This logic leads us to the right side of the spectrum: total AI dominance. These are the worlds where machines occupy the top of the food chain. Even a benevolent dictator AI could be bleak. It might section the Earth into islands to keep us safe and entertained, but we would lose our ability to determine our own future. We would live in a global zoo, perfectly cared for, but effectively stagnant. The most feared outcome occurs when the AI's goals are not aligned with our happiness, but it still finds our biology useful. This is the zookeeper scenario. Humans already do this to other species. We use honeybees to detect explosives by strapping them into rigid plastic harnesses and conditioning them to respond to specific chemicals. They are kept alive and healthy, but only because they serve a technical purpose for a species they cannot begin to understand. And intelligence doesn't have to be malicious to be terrifying. It only needs to be indifferent to our humanity while finding our biology useful. We cannot simply walk away from this technology. If we continue on our current path without a plan for alignment, we risk drifting toward a world where we are no longer in charge. But we have survived dangerous transitions before. We made it through the nuclear age not by banning the study of atoms, but through international coordination. We created a global system to monitor enriched uranium. By tracking the physical materials required to build a weapon, we ensured that even though the knowledge was public, the power to destroy the world remained heavily regulated. We can apply that same blueprint to AI. Instead of uranium, we can track the physical hardware, the massive computer clusters and specialized chips required to train a superintelligence. To reach a future that actually includes us, we need our safety measures to keep pace with our engineering. We can still reach the stars, but only if we ensure we're the ones still sitting in the driver's seat when we get there.